A powerful alien has just destroyed the moon and made its way towards Earth. The army sends a military troop to fight the creature at its hideout in an attempt to buy some time for a nuclear attack. However, as the soldiers approach their target, they come to quickly realize they are no match as it disperses several tentacles and eliminates them with ease one by one. Months later, the very same creature stands before a high school class as their new teacher. All of the students then begin shooting at the thing with pellet guns to try to kill him. But to understand how we got here, we have to go back to the start of the school year. The principal of Kunigaki Junior High welcomes the students, who are separated into two classes. Class 3E consists of the lowest performing students in the entire school. Class A, on the other hand, consists of the elite clever students. The principal mocks Class 3E and the other students begin to laugh at them. He says Class A students have a bright future ahead of them, and deserve the best education, but Class E, however, will be sent to a run-down building on the side of the mountaintop, where they will continue their studies away from the clever students so that they cannot distract or interfere with their grades. When the students arrive in class for their first day, they are surprised to find that their teacher is the very same alien who destroyed the moon and intends to do the same to Earth by March next year. Kurasama, a well-respected general and combatant of Japan's Ministry of Defense, informs the students that the alien requested that the government allow it to become the form teacher of Class E. They have no idea why he requested to teach that class. However, as part of the agreement, he will allow all attacks on his life by only the students without retaliation. So Kurasama tells the class that it's their mission to eliminate the creature by graduation as the fate of the world relies on them. However, the monster is extremely fast, reaching Mach 20 speed at 23,000 km per hour at maximum. Kurasama presents the class with weapons, knives and pellets made of a special material, the only material that can harm the alien but is harmless to humans. As a demonstration, the alien shoots off one of his tentacles, much to the horror of the students. But after a few seconds, he regenerates his tentacle, showing the class that they'd have to be quick and efficient if they want to kill him. Kurasama reassures the class that they are safe, as the agreement the alien made with the government was that would never hurt any of the students. In fact, he would make sure that they're out of harm's way. To motivate the students even further, Kurasama informs them that there's a bounty on the alien's head. Whichever of the students can kill the creature will be rewarded $75 million. Kurasama then becomes the class's assistant teacher, so that he can watch over and report to the Ministry of Defense on the students' progress and also train them to become elite assassins. In addition to Kurasama, a high-ranking international assassin named Irina Yelovic was hired to teach English to the class. She makes many attempts to kill the powerful being over the first couple of weeks. However, all of her attempts are futile and she finally gives up. At recess each day, Kurasama makes the students practice their weapons combat, improving on their assassination skills with each lesson. Nagisa, one of the quiet students, studies and notes down every little detail about the alien so that he can figure out its weakness. So far, he's able to figure out that the alien has a color-changing ability that represents his different emotions. Yoshida, one of his classmates, and his two friends, believe that's of no help and instead pressure him into going along with their assassination attempt that morning in language class. Nagisa says he needs more time to figure out the alien's weakness and find a foolproof plan, but they convince him that it's either now or never. During the lesson, Nagisa pretends to have finished the class assignment and brings it to the teacher, hiding a knife behind a sheet. When he tries to stab the alien, it grabs his hand immediately and tells him he should have tried better. Then, Nagisa hugs the teacher, revealing a bomb inside of his shirt that explodes and sends him and the alien crashing to the ground. A girl named Kayano rushes to Nagisa's aid, afraid for his life, but Yoshida reassures her that the bomb was filled with the pellets that would only harm the teacher, but it also contained gunpowder, which would leave Nagisa with only a few scratches. The students then notice a semi-transparent membrane covering the alien's corpse, so they attempt to remove it, but the creature is nowhere to be seen. Instead, he was hiding within the ceiling observing them. He tells them that the membrane is his old layer of skin, which he sheds once a month. It had absorbed the impact of the bomb and gave him enough time to escape the blast radius. The monster returns to the ground extremely angry with Yoshida and his two friends for putting Nagisa's life in danger. So, within a split second he goes to each of their homes and grabs the nameplates of their family houses and returns with them. He then threatens that if they ever put another student's life in danger or try to sacrifice them, he will uphold the deal he made with the government to not hurt them, but that doesn't mean he won't hurt or even kill their families. After everyone returns to their seats, the alien tells them that the assassination should be a team effort, and it should be an achievement they are all proud of. He congratulates Nagisa on his assassination attempt as he didn't see the explosive coming with how well Nagisa played it off. Kayano then asks the professor if he has a name, and when he says he doesn't, she suggests that the class calls him Koro-sensei, which means unkillable teacher, and everyone agrees. Even the alien is honored to be called such a name. The next morning, when Kurosama arrives at school, he finds the students shooting at Koro-sensei, who is entangled in a net stuck on the basketball hoop after the students set a trap which he fell for. The sensei then loosens the net and falls to the ground. The students take the opportunity to shoot him, however, he loosens the net and appears on the roof in a split second. Then, a new classmate arrives at 3E, his name is Karma. He was one of the smartest elite students of Class A, however, he got into way too many fights with the other students and so he was demoted to Class E for his violent behavior. Demonstrating not only his superior intellect but also his resourcefulness, Karma had attached some blades made of the same metal as the knives to his palm, leading Koro-sensei to lose a tentacle after shaking his hand. This is the first time he was successfully hurt by a student, or by anyone at all. When everyone returns to class, Koro-sensei finds a dead octopus on his desk with a knife right through it. Karma apologizes, stating that he mistaked the octopus for his teacher. Koro-sensei appears angry, and says to the boy that he'll show him the power of those tentacles. So, in the blink of an eye, he cooks up some delicious grilled octopus dumplings and feeds them to Karma. He even dresses him in a pretty apron and hairnet so he can help out with the cooking. Later that day, Karma sits at the cliffside and recalls one of the times he got into a fight with some other students. His teacher later tells him that no matter how many fights he gets into, he'll always have his back. Nagisa then comes over to talk. Karma asks if Koro-sensei is a good teacher, and Nagisa replies that he is a great teacher, and also very encouraging, but they have orders to kill him. Koro-sensei then appears beside the two and tells them that they should be practicing their combat in preparation to assassinate him. Karma then asks Koro-sensei if he's willing to risk his life to protect his students no matter the costs, and he says yes. So Karma decides to jump off the cliff while taking aim and facing the ledge. He knows that Koro-sensei would have to slow down in order to catch him and save his life, since Mach 20 speed would kill Karma. This would allow a window of opportunity for him to shoot and kill his teacher. While falling, Karma recalls an incident in which he beat up 3 elite students for bullying a Class E boy. Later that day, his teacher, who is also the principal of the school, had reprimanded him for attacking elite students in defense of a Class E boy. This upset him to the point that he felt betrayed by his teacher. Koro-sensei runs down the cliff and constructs a soft landing pad for Karma, made of his tentacles. This way he'd be completely unharmed. Karma is upset that he couldn't kill his teacher, but, at the same time, he respects him for keeping his word. It's been over 2 months now since the alien destroyed the moon and took up residence in Japan. Kurosama meets with his superior, the president of the Ministry of Defense, for another briefing. The president tells him that since the alien came to Earth, Japan has been the victim of many nuclear attacks from all over the world, which could have wiped out the entire country by now had the alien not protected them. The president has faith in Kurosama completing the mission and successfully assassinating the alien, but, to speed things up, he decides to send a new transfer student to enroll in Class E. We come to find out that this new student is actually an artificially intelligent artillery machine. Exploiting a loophole in the agreement, the government decided to give this AI military weapon the form of a female student so Koro-sensei couldn't harm the machine now that it's enrolled in class. It immediately gets to work the next morning, targeting the teacher and firing upon him with multiple heavy artillery machine gun rounds, yet still, he is too fast and powerful to be shot. The machine keeps making assassination attempts, much to the dismay of all the students, since she keeps disrupting the class and they are left to clean up all the bullets when she is done firing. She also possesses the ability to evolve, so with each attack she analyzes Koro-sensei and gets a growing fraction of a percentage closer to assassinating him. She calculates that she'll have a 90% chance of killing him by graduation. However, the other students don't care since they're fed up with her, so they chain her up and leave her in the corner of the class. That night, Koro-sensei comes to the machine and tells her that the reason the other students rejected her is because she doesn't act like a student. She needs to learn to work with them as a team. So he brings her stacks of papers with tons of data on all of the class's students, for her to analyze and use to evolve so she can get along with the students by becoming more human. The next morning when the other students arrive at school, they receive a notification on their phones. They open it to find a greeting from the AI girl who now has a more human personality. She informs them that she has made an app to connect and interact with each of them, and that she will strive to learn to work as a team. Now that the class accepts her as a student and one of their friends, they decide to give her a name, Ritsu. After Koro-sensei enters the room, a platinum blonde-haired young boy breaks through the ceiling and lands on the floor. Ritsu tells the class that she trained with this boy at the assassin school, and his name is Atona. He's followed shortly behind by a man clad in white sheets from head to toe, who identifies himself as Shiro, and he's Etona's guardian. Etona then tells the class that he's the strongest there is, and he's even stronger than Koro-sensei. Etona then challenges the sensei to a duel, and he accepts. Shiro takes the position of the referee, and says that the first to leave the ring of desks loses the battle. As soon as the fight begins, Etona rips off one of the sensei's tentacles and everyone is surprised to see him reveal that he has tentacles himself. After seeing them, the sensei has a flashback of his past where he was imprisoned and studied in a lab. His face turns blood red and he is filled with rage, demanding to know where Etona got those tentacles. Etona attacks once again, and Koro-sensei sheds his skin as a defense, which concerns Nagisa as he fears the sensei may be in trouble since he sacrificed the ace up his sleeve this early in the fight. Losing his tentacles during the fight, and having to regenerate them slows down Koro-sensei's speed so he can't dodge Etona's attacks anymore, and he takes a beating. Nagisa believes this may be the chance to save the world, and he stares at his knife, but he hesitates, not wanting to kill the sensei. Koro-sensei compliments Etona on his skill, and says he hasn't faced an enemy this powerful before, but he doesn't go down so easily. The next second, Etona's tentacles are on the floor, and the knife is gone from Nagisa's hand. Etona's speed and power disappears along with the removal of his tentacles. After cutting them off, Koro-sensei wraps Etona in his shedded skin and launches him out of the window and wins the fight. Etona is unharmed since the membrane protected him. Shiro carries the beaten Etona away, and swears to Koro-sensei that he will be back soon, and he will defeat him. When school finishes for the day, Nagisa approaches Sensei and asks why he chose to become the teacher of Class E. Koro-sensei reveals that he did it to fulfill a promise he made to someone. However, he won't reveal who that person is or the promise he made until the class improves in their assassination attempts and learns to work as a team. Kurosama receives a call that night from his superior, who informs him that a new coach will be coming to help speed up the assassination training of the students since they aren't seeing any results. Then, Koro-sensei appears in Kurosama's office and the two have an argument which leads to Kurosama pondering over whether Koro-sensei ever had a love life in his past. The sensei then recalls the night he lost the love of his life after an accident. The next morning, Coach Eiichiro arrives in the courtyard and announces that he's Class E's new coach, but before training can commence, he treats all the students to some fast food and tries to bond with them. The students are really fond of their new coach. That night, Irina informs Kurosama that she did some digging on Eiichiro, and found out that he joined the Ministry of Defense around the same time Kurosama did, and he's always been jealous of him. His coaching methods are also very controversial, as he initially tries to get close and friendly with the students before eventually becoming abusive and violent when they aren't able to meet his standards. The next morning, Eiichiro makes the class run 20 laps and a girl named Kanzaki starts to feel sick and falls, so Eiichiro asks if she is okay. She says the training is too intense for her and she prefers Mr. Kurosama's lesson. Then he slaps her and all the students gather and ask the teacher to release their classmate, but the man is determined to teach her a lesson. However, before he could land the second blow, Kurosama appears and grabs his wrist, and he orders that the violent psycho leave his students alone. Eiichiro claims that Kurosama's training methods are not effective, and students like those of Class E need discipline to become successful adults. To prove his point, he offers a deal. He asks Kurosama to choose his best student from the class to try to attack him with a knife. Eiichiro says that even if the blade just touches him, he will count it as a loss, and if he loses he will leave and never return to train the Class E students. However, if he stops the attack and beats the student, then Kurosama must leave. Kurosama chooses Nagisa as his assassin, and tells him that he shouldn't think of it as a show of combat. That is what Eiichiro is expecting, as that's what he likes to do. Instead he should look at it as an assassination, efficient and precise. So Nagisa walks up to Eiichiro with a knife. Eiichiro laughs at him, but then Nagisa smiles back at him, which messes with him psychologically. Then, Nagisa falls forward with the blade and gets a clear contact on Eiichiro's neck. Eiichiro wakes up angry and demands a rematch, refusing to take the loss, but Nagisa tells him to just leave, as they are grateful for what he taught them, but nobody wants him to teach them anymore. So Eiichiro leaves and the class celebrates with Nagisa, who is turning out to be the greatest assassin of Class E so far. The next day it's raining heavily, and Koro-sensei is late to class. When he finally shows up, his face is bloated and discolored. He also quickly tries to stop all the leaks in the building in fear that the water may pool up. Nagisa notes down water as one of the aliens' potential weaknesses. Then he rounds up all the students and assistant teachers outside, right before taking off like a fighter jet and coming back crashing down with a military satellite right in front of them. He tells them that he's too powerful, so he would give them a fighting chance. He says he will allow the students who get the highest scores in each subject to destroy one of his tentacles. With each tentacle lost, he loses speed as well, and the possibilities of an assassination grows. This provides all of the students with enough motivation to do well in school. After the exam, Karma, Okuda, and Nakamura score the highest marks in English, math and science. So the three of them will be allowed to destroy a tentacle each on the day of the final exam. The next day, the students prepare all of the necessary weapons, traps and structures to kill Koro-sensei. Then they prepare a celebration in respect of their teacher, but also to celebrate them saving the world when they kill him tomorrow. They watch the fireworks that night, and contemplate whether they even want to go through with killing their sensei, but they know the fate of the world relies on it. Then, Koro-sensei appears beside them and tells them he's proud, and he can't wait to see what they have in store for him. He tells them to do their best and they will succeed. The students realize that's exactly what their previous year's teacher, Miss Yukimura, used to say before she eventually left the school. Here, it is revealed in a flashback that Yukimura was actually Koro-sensei's love. She used to work at the lab in which he was experimented on and she fell in love with him, but she died that day when he escaped, but before she could go she made him promise to watch over and help the students of Class E. The big day finally arrives. The students prepare for the assassination and ready their weapons. Koro-sensei is tied up to the satellite and Nagisa reveals their plan. They are going to shoot off 3 of his tentacles, after which they will release him into a pool of water below. Koro-sensei is impressed that Nagisa discovered water is one of his weaknesses. The students shoot off the octopus alien's tentacles and gallons of water are dumped onto him. Right before they release him into the pool, 2 students shoot pellets at his head, but he causes an explosion and everybody is confused to see he has disappeared. When they eventually find him, his body is gone except for his shrunken head, which is encased in a protective layer of high-density crystallized energy, that water or the pellets cannot penetrate, nor could a nuclear bomb even leave a scratch on it. However, the shield will break after 24 hours. So the students decide to bury him in a pool filled with all the pellets so that once he is free he will be killed. But he tells them he'll just cause another explosion when the shield dissipates, which will blast away everything near him and he'll make it out alive. Suddenly, half the students slip out of consciousness and collapse with a very high fever. Then, Eiichiro and his gang show up and he tells them he put a virus in some of the students' drinks before he left. Once they are infected they will die within 3 days unless they take the antidote, which only he has. In return for the antidote, he wants Koro-sensei so that he can kill him and claim the $75 million and regain his honor, as he reveals he's become a laughing stock at the Ministry of Defense after Nagisa beat him. It is revealed that Otona was with them this entire time, and he tries to attack Nagisa but Kurasama pushes him out the way and takes the hit and falls to the ground. Eiichiro and his men then escape with the antidote, while Otona goes after Nagisa. Karma helps Nagisa off the ground, and they both flee the courtyard. They eventually climb a huge tower to get as far away from Otona as possible, but he catches up to them. Karma then surrenders and offers to hand Koro-sensei over to Otona, but instead, he throws the sensei to Nagisa. That's when Otona releases his tentacles and gets ready to attack Nagisa. But what he didn't realize is the students chose this particular day to kill Koro-sensei because it was going to be a very rainy day. When it rains, Otona's tentacles become weak and droop from his head. Nagisa quickly cuts them off and Otona falls to the ground defeated. As Otona cries, the sensei tells him that if he's interested, there's a place for him among the other students at Class E, where he can learn to become better at defeating him. Then, Nagisa gets a notification on his phone, and he returns to the courtyard. That's where he confronts Eiichiro, who has kidnapped Kayano and plans to throw her in a vat full of cement and pellets along with the sensei so he can't explode or else he'll kill his own student, and so he would instead die. Eiichiro demands that Nagisa hand over the sensei, so he does, but it's revealed to be a soccer ball in the bag. Nagisa was buying time all this while, so that Koro-sensei could come up with an antidote and help the other students. The entire class comes to Nagisa's rescue. They tie up Eiichiro and his men, and put them in a tub full of cement. A few minutes later, military helicopters arrive and transport the class to a shelter where they plan to finally kill Koro-sensei. They've created a new technologically advanced shelter, which can withstand an explosion from the sensei. Here, they plan to bury him in anti-alien particles, which will kill him once he is free. The students watch the monitor as the sensei appears on screen and congratulates them all on their performance and growth along their journey. He ends off by thanking them for allowing him the opportunity to be their teacher. The entire sphere is then covered in the particles, and the countdown to the explosion begins. When the explosion finally happens, the shelter remains intact and Koro-sensei is nowhere to be seen. They finally receive confirmation that he is dead, and the soldiers rejoice as all the students cry. While Nagisa is crying, Koro-sensei hands him a tissue and Nagisa turns around to see the sensei also crying at the emotional scene. Upon seeing him, all the soldiers run away in fear, but the students hug the sensei and celebrate. Even Kurasuma is happy the sensei is still alive. The students then return to their normal morning school routine, which includes firing at the octopus alien's head while he makes sure all the students are bringing their best.